Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to analyze this shocking announcement. Letter of intent for 100 to 150 Gripen jets for the Ukrainian Air Force. The Gripen, made by Svenska Aeroplan Aktiebolaget, is a fourth-generation fighter jet with many fifth-generation technologies. With its wide range of weapons, it would greatly enhance the Ukrainian Air Force's capabilities. It could change the balance of power in Ukraine's skies. It's a much better plane than the Mirage 2000 and F-16 which Ukraine uses, and it has already been very successful. But this will be on another level. The Gripen is the best of everything the Swedes could buy off the shelf. Create a modular fighter jet that unifies technologies from all Western suppliers to a single standard. It works with all market-available equipment, aiming to surpass Russia's Sukhoi 35 and Sukhoi 57 fighters and counter Russian air defenses, because obviously for Sweden the goal is to be able to face Russia, and it's 100% about Russia. They lack a nuclear expeditionary mission or aircraft carriers and focus entirely on the Russian threat. If we take a look around, the Gripen is equipped with next-generation sensors, including an active electronically scanned array radar provided by Leonardo. It rotates 100 degrees, ideal for flying along a front line and doing lateral scans. There's an infrared search and track and infrared sensor that detects targets, including stealth aircraft, from dozens of kilometers away. I'll refer you to this video I made, which is specifically dedicated to this question. There's also the Arexis electronic warfare suite, developed by SAB. A network of sensors detects all missile launches targeting us and incoming missiles, with a set of protection systems that includes flares, which are designed to counter infrared-guided missiles. Chaff, which creates a radar echo larger than our aircraft to divert radar-guided missiles. A heavy offensive electronic warfare pod is being developed, and we know how effective SAB is in electronic warfare. France selected the Global Eye for its airborne warning and control system aircraft, which will also handle electronic warfare. This means the Swedes, with SAB, are very strong in this field. Before discussing interior equipment, missiles and onboard weapons, how will this actually change things in Ukraine? Alright, let's return to our topic. Looking back at our Gripen cockpit, there's a heads-up display developed with British Aerospace. Next, there's actually the fusion of tactical data, which allows all the data from all the sensors to be combined, as well as information coming from the entire military. Transmission can occur through satellite communication or the tactical data link, link 16. This even lets us fire missiles at targets we haven't detected, using radar data from ships, ground radars, or airborne warning and control system. That's convenient, as Ukraine already has a network of systems that can interact and share information. So a fighter jet like the Mirage 2000 F-16 or Gripen can know its tactical situation without activating its sensors. It can be detected and approach at low altitude, staying unidentified, to strike targets found by other network members. That's how an F-16 downed a Sukhoi 35 a few months ago, after Ukraine received a radar aircraft from Svenska Aeroplan Aktiebolaget, Sweden. Next, there are pods under the wings. First, there are the laser designation and targeting pods, like the Lightning III and Lightning V, which are offered by Rafael. Along with Northrop Grumman, Lockheed offers the Sniper Advanced Targeting Pod. In theory, all NATO TAC pods, such as Telis Talios, could be integrated. There are also reconnaissance pods with a data link to the ground called the Reche XR from Rafael, so it's Israeli. Sweden is developing the Reche next generation. This lets you gather strategic intelligence from great distances, especially at high altitudes. If we look at the armaments, obviously there's an internal cannon, the Moser 27 Minnow. There are many air-to-air missiles, such as the German infrared imaging system, tail thrust vector-controlled French missile d'interception, de combat et d'autodéfense, and American air intercept missile, 9 Sidewinder, which are short to medium range with infrared or electromagnetic guidance. For long range, there's especially the air intercept missile, 120 advanced medium range air-to-air missile from Raytheon, but above all, the Meteor from MBDA. This missile has the world's largest no-escape zone and a range over 150 km, making it a real game changer. Next, cruise missiles like the Scalp, Storm Shadow and German Taurus are already integrated. There are the Guided Bomb Unit and Joint Direct Attack Munition Glide Bombs. As for standoff air-to-ground missiles, that means when you stay at a safe distance. The Raytheon Maverick can either autonomously reach a target or follow one designated by laser. There's the Brimstone anti-tank missile from MBDA United Kingdom. In 2023, the Swedes announced integrating anti-radar missiles like MBDA United Kingdom is Spear electronic warfare. Saab's new robot system, 15 anti-ship missile, has a range over 300 kilometers. We also know integration work on laser-guided rockets is about to start. And that's the most relevant weapon when you want to destroy Russian cruise missiles or Shahed drones and low-cost systems. It avoids having to use RR missiles, which are very, very expensive, and it also avoids putting yourself in danger by firing the cannon. Because the debris from the exploding missile can be ingested into the engines. And specifically, the Ukrainians lost 2 F-16s for this reason, so rockets that fire from a distance are still a very, very effective solution. Do you see it? A wide range of weapons with strong results in international competitions. Even if the Gripen is outclassed by the Rafale in competitions, the main goal is to outperform the Russians. And especially to the Sukhoi 35, which is Russia's absolute air superiority aircraft. And in fact, both Brazil and South Korea were able to test both aircraft. Both the Gripen and Sukhoi 35 competed, with the Gripen consistently outperforming the Sukhoi 35. The Sukhoi 35 lacks an active electronically scanned array radar and relies on passive antennas. Even today, it doesn't have data fusion, and its infrared search and track is inferior to that of the Gripen. And then, generally speaking, the Ukrainians are lucky to have the airborne warning and control system provided by Svenska Aeroplan Aktiebolaget, which are superior to the A-50s that Russia has. And they can't manage to produce more to increase the pace today, not to mention that Russia's tactical data sharing, the CITAC, is also an issue. It's very limited in bandwidth and performance. Besides its superiority, the Gripen also has other advantages. Its operating cost is extremely low. It costs about 15,000 euros per flight hour, while the Rafale costs 20,000 and modern F-16s and Eurofighters cost 25,000. It is designed for easy maintenance and must operate from basic runways. That's ideal for Ukraine, where planes often use highways for takeoff. Next, the Gripen production line. Unfortunately for the Gripen, exports haven't reached as many countries as hoped, limited to Brazil, Thailand and South Africa. So that's a few successes obviously, but very clearly they can ramp up production very quickly to get their production line running as fast as possible. And that's a big advantage. Compared to other fighter jets that could have been supplied to Ukraine today, especially the Rafale, of course, which has a very, very long order book. So the question that comes up is, what does it change for Ukraine to receive Gripens? First, the Ukrainian Air Force. It has different aircraft types like Mikoyan Gurevich 29S and Sukhoi 27S used for varied air-to-air and air-to-ground missions. Though still Soviet models, they've been improved with far more effective and efficient missiles, including missiles that can trace back to the source of a radar mission or glide bombs. There are also Sukhoi 25S, which also carry glide bombs. Knowing that the aircraft was designed for direct ground attack support, to support ground operations, but that kind of operation has completely disappeared. They also have Sukhoi 24S, mainly used today to launch Scalp and Storm Shadow cruise missiles. Recently they received F-16s and Mirage 2000S, both advanced multi-role aircraft. But for now, they are mainly focused on air defense of the territory, and they are clearly half a generation below the Gripen. So very clearly you have to understand that the Gripen is better than anything currently in the Ukrainian fleet. That means the plane can do it all, one aircraft able to perform every mission in the fleet. Additionally, it's superior in every mission. Also, a mass effect is required. For example, to patrol the front line and launch the thousands of Aram cruise missiles the United States will deliver starting in late 2025. But what is also expected from the Gripen in this case is to truly provide air superiority to Ukraine. The Sukhoi 35 defense aircraft, such as the Sukhoi 34 that drop glide bombs. Well, if the Gripen is there superior to the Sukhoi 35 with the ability to target, intercept and strike from farther away, logically it will pose a threat of destruction to any Russian aircraft that comes to drop its bombs from several dozen kilometers away. And that really could change the balance on the front, since the thousands of glide bombs that Russia launches on the front, that lets them destroy some Ukrainian defenses and launch ground assaults. If the Russians lose this ability to operate relatively freely, a few dozen kilometers from the front, in depth, well then you'll have an imbalance that will happen. There will be fewer glide bombs and there will be less suffering on the ground. That's about mass quantity and superiority. Until now, no aircraft clearly surpassed the Sukhoi 35. Now, that could change. So, among the Gripen's unique capabilities compared to current aircraft, there's also offensive electronic warfare. Now, anti-ship missiles can be launched to decrease the effectiveness of Russian radars, which wasn't possible before. We're talking about hundreds of kilometers here. And then there's also this possibility, this capability of having been designed from the start with the goal of surviving in a highly contested environment, with radars everywhere, which is not the case for the F-16, which clearly belongs to a generation from a much earlier development, and that's normal. The Gripen, once again, is an aircraft specifically developed to face Russia. The F-16 was much broader. So, what needs to be done today is to also validate the agreements, because of course today it's just a letter of intent. It's not a firm purchase. The different suppliers need to validate, especially the Americans, who are the supplier of the Gripen's engine, with JI, who supplies the F4-14. It's also necessary for those who provide components. Will France agree to provide the missiles? Ramjet rocket Meteor with very long range? We all hope so, of course, but there still needs to be an operational agreement, especially if the components of the Meteor are recovered after a successful interception. Does that reduce the effectiveness of the Meteor afterwards? Similar to the Chinese PL-15 missile recovered by the Indians, we know this will reduce its effectiveness. Ramjet rocket for future Chinese operations. Then there's the whole question of funding, and here, good news. We are gradually moving towards a capability to draw directly from the frozen Russian assets, to use that money directly and arm the Ukrainians with it. So in this case, it would be free for Ukrainians and Europeans. In this case, it is really a win-win, and it annoys the Russians, which is always good news. And in any case, we don't remind people of this often enough. But the Swedes have been training Ukrainian pilots on Gripen since the fall of 2023. They've been in training for 2 years, so there's already a first batch, a first group of Gripen that's going to arrive. For use, we don't know exactly, once again, what the ecosystem around the aircraft will be, but the pilots, the technicians, the maintenance is already ready, and Sweden has already budgeted for the purchase of spare parts to carry out maintenance directly in Ukraine. So we know it's a matter of weeks, months, maybe 6 months, and then this announcement. Today, it might simply be to be able to continue producing and supplying more Gripen. And so it would be the Gripen that would become the backbone of the future Ukrainian fighter aviation. And that obviously is an excellent thing, since it gives strategic perspectives both to Ukraine to be able to collapse, but also to Russia, because now it knows it has no chance of dominating Ukraine in the air domain. Obviously, knowing that it's been 3.5 years since it announced it had achieved total air dominance over Ukraine, we know very well how things really are. Ukrainians, despite having planes much weaker than the Gripen, still complete dozens of successful missions daily. That's about it. So the prospects are clear. I hope it materializes soon. The Ukrainians are ready to keep fighting and defending themselves. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon.